The scripture comes from Joshua. Comes from the 7th chapter. If you want to turn to chapter 7 of Joshua, we're going to be reading from the first verse. I entitled this message, How to Ruin the Rose Parade. I asked somebody, what would ruin the Rose Parade? And they said, easy. A big old thunder shower. And all those rose petals and all those flowers and all that stuff that you put on there, all those beautiful dresses and the costumes and everything just become waterlogged, ugly, nasty mess that just smears down over everything. You go from having this wonderful, grand display of talent and artistry, and all of a sudden it just sort of goes down to mush. Yeah, that would ruin the Rose Parade. Well, God has something amazingly glorious planned. He's got the most amazing Rose Parade that's going to bless our lives. But the risk is we can actually find ourselves messing it up. Here's the scripture we're using. Joshua 7:1. But the Israelites acted, this happens immediately after the victory at Jericho. They are now beginning the conquest of the Promised Land. They're beginning to move through the territory. Jericho was a wonderful, wonderful victory. Nobody expected it to happen that way. The walls fell down. God worked in amazing ways. Everything was going good. I mean, these people are pumped up. They're going for broke. They think, hey, with God's help, we're going to be able to just bulldoze our way right through this and it'll become our land right away. Okay, now this. But the Israelites acted unfaithfully in regard to the devoted things. The devoted things were anything of gold and silver of value, fine robes, anything of the treasury of Jericho was supposed to go into the Israelite treasure house. It was not to be kept by any individual. And so when they stormed through the city, they collected the harvest of all the things that had been stored there, implements, dishes, plates, pitchers, anything of value, candlesticks, and they were all to be put into the Israelite treasury. They knew God knew what a long war was going to cost, and it was going to require the treasury of Jericho to help fund this war effort. So no one was told to take anything of plunder from Jericho. All right. But Achan, son of Camri, son of Zimri, son of Zahath, of the tribe of Judah, took some of them, and so the Lord's anger burned against Israel. Now Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai, which is near Beth-aven, on the east of Bethel, and told them, go up and spy out that region. So the men went up and spied out Ai. When they returned to Joshua, they said, not all the people will need to go up against Ai. Send 2,000 or 3,000 men to take it, and do not weary all the people, for only a few men are there. So about 3,000 men went up, but they were routed by the men of Ai, who killed about 36 of them. They chased the Israelites from the city gates as far as the stone quarries and struck them down on the slopes. At this, the hearts of the people melted and became like water. Then Joshua tore his clothes and fell face down on the ground before the ark of the Lord and remained there until evening. And the elders of Israel did the same. And they sprinkled dust on their heads. And Joshua said, sovereign Lord, why? Why have the Amorites, all right, why did you ever bring this people across the Jordan to deliver us into the hands of the Amorites to destroy us? If only we had been content to stay on the other side of Jordan. Oh Lord, what can I say? Now that Israel has been routed by its enemies, the Canaanites and all the other people of the country will hear about this. They will surround us and wipe out your name from the earth. What then will you do for your own great name? The Lord, responding to Joshua, said, "Stand up. What are you doing down on your face?" Israel has sinned. They have violated my covenant, which I commanded them to keep. They have taken some of the devoted things. They have stolen. They have lied. They have put them with their own possessions. That is why the Israelites cannot stand against their enemies. They turn their backs and run because they have become liable to destruction. I will not be with you anymore unless you destroy whatever among you is devoted to destruction. Now, conquest of the Promised Land was supposed to be a great celebration of joy, one victory after another. They were supposed to just melt the hearts of their enemies and just watch them vacate the cities and say, "Here, you take it. Rather than be destroyed and every living thing destroyed and wiped out, here, go ahead, take it, it's yours." And they were just to sweep into the country and take over. It didn't quite work that way. I share this message with you, this lesson, partly because my heart is broken. This very thing continues to happen today. All right? Not here. I'm not talking about John Day. When God's people open the door and let sin sneak in, the plans of God are washed away. The plans he had prepared for his people vanish. Now, we all know that. We're a holiness church. We know that we have to stay pure. We have to keep our hearts dedicated. We have to stay holy. So it's not unusual for me to say that to you because that's what we teach. But it doesn't take much for us to fall short of the glory that God has in mind for us. It doesn't take much. And it doesn't even look like sin at the beginning. I will just give you one example. Someone says to me, as has happened in the past, many years ago, many thousands of miles away, "I'm going to share something with you, but you're not allowed to tell anyone else. This is said in confidence." And then a leader of the church reveals that there are problems in their lives. How should I have handled that? How should I have done what was supposed to be done at that point? I know now that I should have said, "It is my understanding that until you get that straightened out in your life, you should step down from your leadership position until you can focus on getting your family and your personal life straightened out." Like an egg that has rotted on the inside. I don't know if you ever had an egg go bad, all right? You can't really smell it too bad until something happens and the eggshell cracks. And then all that sulfur stuff, that yucky stink comes breaking out. And all you want to do is just get rid of that mess. You just want to trash it. Get it out of my house. Sin is like that. it creeps in us. It creeps into the family. Guards on the watchtowers can't protect against it. Armies patrolling the perimeter won't stop it from happening. It's what's happening in the heart. It's what happens in the heart. Please understand, Judas did not first betray Jesus. He just took a coin here and there for a purpose that wasn't supposed to be used for. John tells us he was a thief. He was carrying the purse, and he used the money that was given to him for things he shouldn't have. Was that a betrayal of Jesus? No, it didn't lead to his death. But once sin starts to invade the body, once sin starts to invade the life, it is so pervasive, it just penetrates to the very core if we don't stop it. Joshua did the right thing. Please understand, Joshua did the right thing. He fell on his face and said, God, show me what I got to do. Show me what went wrong. And God did. God worked in amazing ways. And the situation was fixed in the sense that the sin was isolated, repented of, corrected, and measures were taken in a loving way that made the problem disappear. It was taken care of in a Christian Matthew 18:15 way. We don't do that anymore. You know why? It's hard work. It's hard work to fall on your face in humility and say, Lord, I don't know why these things are happening, but we have to have your help. It happened in the early church. It's happened in my life numerous different times. Listen to me. Listen to my heart. There isn't any perfect church where every person involved is perfect. But we have to pray for each other. We have to pray for each other. We have to lift each other up. We have to ask God to give strength and courage and insight and wisdom. I think Achan had been stealing stuff from folks for years and padding his pocket for quite a long while. And finally God said, you touched my stuff, now you got to pay. Judas would have had no reason to go to the leaders of the temple if he hadn't let sin sneak into his life. Over quite a long period of time, I think. And maybe he felt like he was exposed. He was going to lose his position. Maybe he felt like he was going to be set outside of the circle of 12 that Jesus had called. Maybe what he'd been doing was slowly getting to the point where it was breaking open. But But somehow, in the midst of that, sin had crept into that circle. I love this congregation passionately. I love who you are. I love what your position in the community is. I love what you do for people. I love your passion for getting things done. And 10 years from now, if I'm still around, I want to point back and say, wow, those folks at John Day are still getting it done. They're still out there knocking the walls down, getting the thing accomplished, going here, going into this country, taking this mission field, pushing the envelope down here in this area. They're really getting it done. What an exciting group. The key is we have to stay on our face before the Lord. Holding each other up, staying accountable to Him, asking that He purifies our hearts, not allowing anything to creep in the smallest way. When we say, love the Lord with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul, and with all your strength, there's not a tiny little opening in that. There's no loophole in the law that allows us to be selfish or prideful or hard. When it says love your neighbor as yourself, it means everybody, not just the guy that lives next door that's easy to love. Sometimes it's the people. And if we get this attitude of us versus them, the us versus them is the standard way we talk about the fact that we're the inside of the circle and everything out here is them. So they're not as faithful as we are. We're the ones that are the us, so they're our family. And them out there, we don't have to carry so much about them. Churches die every day because they lose the passion to love their neighbors like themselves. Get the message out there. And it can creep on us. It can sneak in. And I share with you that because I don't want anybody to get hurt. People are depending on us. We need to be faithful. And I challenge you. There's no problem in this church that I'm aware of at all. These are from thousands of miles away, so don't even question what we're talking about. But we can learn from somebody else's mistakes. We can learn from people who had a passion. 3 years ago, they had a passion to be on fire for the Lord. And I wondered, why is it not working? Why are we not getting the answers we are looking for? Why are people not responding? Why does this seem to be so difficult? Why does this seem to be such a struggle? It's right here. There was sin in the camp being covered up. And God couldn't bless. We're called to be holy. We're called to put away anything that doesn't look like Jesus. And that's tough. It calls us to think about our lives every day. And to pray for every one of our brothers and sisters in the circle. Praying for those who, 15, that are going to be coming into the circle this next Easter time. It calls us to be on our face before the Lord, asking that He will have His will in our community, even as it's being done in heaven.